Hello and welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host Samuel Oni, and this is episode 6. With me virtually is Wes Spimmin. Wes, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm good. It's my first day of freedom after a week and a bit of COVID. I'm with 2 negative tests now, so I'm allowed outside now. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Glad to hear you're feeling better. Glad to hear you're feeling better. That's always good. Now, let's just get into it. Formula One. Formula One came back last weekend, and well, if you're an F1 fan, I don't know, excitement, thrilling, bizarre, an eye opener. Give me more descriptive words. I don't know, but the Bahrain Grand Prix was absolutely amazing, with Ferrari's Charles Leclerc winning the race in Sakir, the first win since 2019 in the Singapore Grand Prix. Also, his teammate Carlos Sainz finishing second alongside him. Brilliant result. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just pleased for Ferrari first and foremost. After they were all right last year. I mean, they came third in the end, so I suppose they, in a way, they had a good season, especially off the back of a horror show in 2020, really finishing sixth. But yeah, I'm so happy for Ferrari and Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz as well. I mean, if any two drivers deserve a race win, it's those two. They're just lovely guys to watch race, and the sort of vibe I get off them is that they're just genuine people. They're just genuinely nice guys as well. And yeah, Leclerc his first win since I think Monza 2019 as well. So yeah, it's what 3 years since a Ferrari win, and yeah, I couldn't really be happier for this. Yeah, I think it's great for F1 as well to see Ferrari back firing compared to what we've seen the last sort of few years, where I mean they haven't been challenging for race wins the last 2 years. Yeah, they got one in Austria at the start of 2020, where actually that was the clear as well. So I made a mistake there. Last win was in 2020 Austria, not the Monza. But yeah, just so pleased for them, and yeah, great to see Ferrari on the top step again finally after the last few years. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Excuse me. I thought it was great. I was very excited by it. I honestly feel that the whole weekend was set for Ferrari from practice to qualifying up until the race day. Um, in qualifying, they were very quick.
Yeah,
Practice, they were very quick. They looked the quicker car. They looked the quickest car of all, excuse me, of all of them in the whole grid. So just great. Now, the battle between Leclerc and Red Bull's Max Verstappen was something else.
it was
I
brilliant.
mean, the opening laps of the race were mind blowing. They were both going at it. No one would give up. Track position for track position, and in the opening following laps, sorry, lap 17 through to lap 19, I believe, both were exchanging places. I mean, it was brilliant, great to see.
Yeah, it was just superb entertainment. I think they swapped places for about 4 or 5 times, I think, and yeah, it was mainly the same corners again, sort of turn one and turn four as sort of the main overtaking points on the track, and yeah, you just saw one of them usually just open up the DRS on the start finish straight, just sail past. The DRS seems incredibly strong this year compared to what we've seen the last few years, and yeah, I think Verstappen made the dive into turn one first, and then Leclerc gets it back with DRS on the run into turn four, and it was just that for lap after lap after lap for a good few laps, and it was brilliant, brilliant to watch and to listen to on the radio as well. And I think Charles Leclerc said at one point, must have been about the third or fourth time that he'd been overtaken and then got the place back. He braked a bit early into turn one to give Verstappen the lead, then knowing that he himself would have a DRS on the run into turn four, so he knew he would get that place back anyway. I just think that's brilliant racecraft. That's quite clever to do. To do that when you're going 200 mile an hour, battling side by side with the world champion. to think of that is, I think, is brilliant from Charles Leclerc. And yeah, hopefully we see that battles like that more often this season with the new regulations. Hopefully, it allows for it. It certainly seemed to in Bahrain.
I know it's very early to call, but I think the new regulations may have benefited one or two teams after this race, Ferrari being one
Yeah,
of them.
definitely.
Um, yeah, because I just thought, Ferrari over the years they wanted to really work on their car, and another another Ferrari powered car was Haas. Now, after the shocking on track drama from last year and also off track drama last year, has have come in this season. They've brought in Kevin Magnussen for the season to drive with Mick Schumacher. And if you're going to Steiner, how must you be feeling? You must be absolutely excited, proud of your team. Magnussen's got a P5.
It's such an incredible story, isn't it? I mean, a month or so ago, Magnussen wouldn't have been even thinking about competing in F1 this year, let alone getting fifth in a Haas. He finished bottom of bottom last year, no points last year. I don't think they got a point the year before either. On this downward spiral, and then this year their efforts in development and R&D have certainly paid off, especially from what we're seeing. Yeah, it's only one race in, but the pace Magnussen had, and Mick Schumacher as well, to qualify 12th when last year they were almost a second off anyone else, is an incredible achievement for Haas, and hats off to them. They've done a superb job, and Kevin Magnussen to, to come into fifth after just one sort of testing session, and obviously
Yeah,
obviously qualifying as well, but to qualify seventh as well, incredible, incredible effort from him. And points for Haas, more points that they scored in 2 hours, I think they said, than they scored in 2 years. Just remarkable stuff. And if I know I said I couldn't be happy for Ferrari, but it's the same for Haas. They're a local team to me, based in Banbury, just a half-hour drive from my house in Oxfordshire. I'm just I'm chuffed for them, really am. And it goes to show what happens, I suppose, when you get a proper driver in rather than a pay driver. Haas will
yeah,
probably they're going to lose a lot of money off the back of losing the Uralkali sponsorship and the Mazepin's backing, but they stood by their morals, which is absolutely right, 100% correct to do that. And they got in Magnussen, someone who they've had him before. They trust Magnussen. They know him. They know sort of how he drives his setup, sort of within the team. He sort of knows all the team as well. And it's paid dividends for them. And I'm just so happy for Haas and Magnussen and Schumacher, just the whole team. And it's only one race, but hopefully that sort of stuff continues throughout the other 21 races, 22 races, however many this year. Too many to count, really. But so pleased for Haas.
Now, another thing about the race was Mercedes as well. Qualifying fifth, I believe fifth and eighth into this race, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. But the race itself, podium handed on a silver platter in the way it ended to Lewis Hamilton. It was like a see an opportunity, and I grab it. And that's 183 poles for Sir Lewis Hamilton in his F1 career. Another history-breaking moment for the British driver.
It's insane, isn't it? 183 is. I think he's gone 16 seasons with a podium as well, which is another record he
Yeah,
now holds. Just when
yeah.
you thought that he couldn't break any more records, he goes and does it in the first race of the year. Um, he's just remarkable. I mean, Mercedes, from what we've seen, I know it's early doors, but from what we've seen in testing and in the race, they've been lacking in pace, especially considering they're 8 times world champions. So whether they've not sort of read the rule, well, I wouldn't say read the rules, but not just made improvements on their car that other teams like Ferrari have done, for example. But they just seem to be lacking slightly. And Hamilton and Toto Wolff have talked about sort of unlocking the potential in the car. I'm sure they will win a race at some point in the season. I mean, it's Mercedes; they're not 8-time world champions for no reason. But yeah, it's a disappointing start for them. I think this year to finish. I mean, yeah, they did get a podium in the end, but that was arguably down to Red Bull powertrains and well, three out of the four Red Bull cars failing to finish the race. But yeah, Mercedes will be hoping they find some pace as the season progresses. But yeah, it's surprising and a little bit disappointing for Mercedes that yeah, they did qualify. I mean, Russell P8 in a Mercedes in his first qualifying with Mercedes, and yeah, you got a few places back, finished what fifth, not fifth, sixth in the end, I think. Not see if that was Bottas. Hang on, where are we? Fourth place for Russell. So I suppose it was an all right outcome in the end for Mercedes, but given where they have been for the last, as I say, 8 years, it's disappointing for them. But it's refreshing in a way to see a battle between two drivers that doesn't involve a silver car or a black car or Lewis Hamilton. Really. Yeah. It's kind of nice to see in a way, but yeah, it's surprising from Mercedes that they do appear to be, as I say, early doors, further behind than what people expected.
Now, you mentioned their powertrains with the cars, and that was very significant because not only did AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly retire due to powertrains and also his car catching fire, it was nice that he was able to get out of the car safely and, you know, he wasn't injured or anything. But also a world champion in Max Verstappen and his teammate, Sergio Perez, both suffered the same fate. Not only a world champion, but also your teammate as well. That is just mad. And it ultimately just set the tone for the ending of the race. I mean, I was shocked by that, hearing it on the radio.
I mean, it was only about 3 or 4 laps to go until the end. I think a bit earlier when Pierre Gasly's car, I think they were saying on Sky Sports F1, Crofty and Martin Brundle saying that it had overheated, which is kind of surprising in a way, given, I mean, people will know Bahrain's going to be hot, so surely you're going to make an engine that can survive high temperature. I mean, an engine isn't a cold thing anyway. Yeah, it's the first year of Red Bull powertrains because obviously Honda pulled out at the end of last year, so Red Bull, they weren't going to go back to Renault because they had a fallout with them, and they're certainly not going to go to Mercedes or Ferrari, their main two rivals and the other sort of main power unit suppliers of the rest of the grid. But so yeah, they've started Red Bull powertrains, and yeah, it couldn't have really got off to a worse start for them to make an engine that lasts all but 3 or 4 laps of the race. Well, you need those 3 or 4 laps to actually finish the race and get points. So yeah, it's a disappointing start for them, and I'm sure it's only like it'll be a one-time thing, and maybe we might see sort of engine failures later on in the season when more and more engines have been used. But yeah, it's not a good start for Red Bull powertrains, and yeah,
no
hopefully
points
for them,
either for
yeah,
Red Bull.
no points, a huge loss considering they arguably had the fastest car of last year. So to get no points in the opening race, yeah, it's only one race, as we keep saying, but they're on the back foot already, and yes, it's a long season and so on. But if you're Ferrari and Mercedes looking at that, you're thinking, well, hang on a second, we've got another race coming up in Saudi Arabia, we've got another one in the UAE at the back end of the year, we've got Qatar next year, races in other quite hot places. I mean, Australia as well, back on the calendar. So if you're Ferrari and Mercedes looking at those tracks, are you thinking, well, Red Bull could potentially have more problems at these hot tracks, potentially, if, like we saw with Pierre Gasly, the engine overheats. But yeah, I mean, it's not a good start for Red Bull powertrains, and as I said, it will hopefully for them anyway be a one-time thing, and yeah, they can get back on winning terms this weekend in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and just to mention other teams as well, McLaren, what a poor weekend for them.
Horror show
Qualifying
for McLaren.
Sorry?
Horror show for McLaren, wasn't it? A dreadful weekend
It
for
was a
McLaren.
poor weekend for McLaren. 14th and 15th. Danny Rick and Lando Norris. I mean, some could say they could understand Danny Rick coming back because he had COVID, but still, I maybe they could have finished a bit higher, but overall it was a poor weekend for the McLaren team, and they will need to bounce back, get back to their, you know, winning. Well, I don't say winning ways because they haven't really won.
Well, top of the midfield sort of ways, really.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was
that's what I mean. Yeah,
yeah
thank you.
a hugely disappointing start for McLaren, especially on and they're sort of the opposite to Haas. Really, they've been on the up and up the last sort of 3 or 4 years, off the back of a pretty disastrous time out with Honda engines when you had Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button racing for them. And it just seems that now, I mean, yes, it's only one race, as we keep saying, but it seems that all of that hard work they've done to get back on top, going through Honda engines, Renault engines, now Mercedes engines, that's now just been shattered, really, in one race and in testing as well. But yeah, hopefully for me and other McLaren fans out that they'll improve the car and hopefully get back to fighting in the midfield again, because yeah, 14th and 15th is a pretty poor show. Same with Aston Martin as well. I know we're going to mention Aston Martin.
Yeah,
but
Aston Martin.
they did. I know they in a sort of similar situation to McLaren, really, where they lost a driver to COVID, and obviously Vettel got it a bit later than Daniel Ricciardo, so they had to bring in Nico Hulkenberg for the third time in the last year or two, I think. And on the whole, when previously Hulkenberg has done a pretty solid job for Aston Martin and previously Racing Point as sort of a reserve driver, but he just seemed a bit off the pace today. But then so did Lance Stroll. I think, where did Aston Martin finish in the end? It was 17th for Hulkenberg, the last out of the classified drivers, and 12th for Lance Stroll as well. So yeah, a poor show for both McLaren and Aston Martin. And I know we said at the start of the season, with the different sort of side pod designs, Aston Martin the first one to show off the sort of chiseled, the vented sort of side pods, and yeah, it's not worked out for them this year. I mean, I'm not blaming that they finished last because of the side pods. It's not because of that at all. There's a whole lot of other reasons to go into the car as well. But yeah, a disappointing show from both McLaren and Aston Martin.
Yeah, and also Alex Albon in the Williams, as quiet as his race was. What do you make of his finish? P13. That's a pretty impressive finish.
Yeah, certainly not a bad effort when this is his first year back in F1 after a year or two out, driving a different sort of car compared to the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull, which, I mean, they won't be exactly the same, but I assume they'll have similar setups, being sort of a junior team, father team sort of thing. So yeah, to race in a Williams and to have sort of a different sort of layout, I suppose, to the car, a different feel to the car as what he would have had in AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso, whatever. I think Toro Rosso in 2019, and then obviously the Red Bull. But yeah, I think you had a pretty solid race. I mean, 13th in a Williams, when again they haven't made the improvements that they would have liked, and a lot of Williams fans would have liked to see them sort of fighting for points. But I think 13th is a pretty solid outing. I
think that's a sensible finish for a Williams car.
Yeah, I mean, he beat Nicholas Latifi, didn't he? Latifi finished 16th, and he's been in that car for 4 years now. So yeah,
yeah.
I know I said solid quite a lot to reference Albon, but just a pretty good drive out, I think, in the first outing of Williams for Alex Albon.
Now, let's see how did you do in your weekend predictions then for Bahrain?
Not very well. I don't think I got one this weekend. I know you got one. You got pole correct with Charles Leclerc. Yeah, I think I went.
That was great.
I think I went Verstappen, Magnussen. I think Magnussen was close to getting driver of the day, but yeah, obviously Leclerc got it in the end. A clean sweep for Charles Leclerc, pole, race win, and driver of the day as well.
Wow.
Yeah, you're leading 1-0 so far.
Yeah,
I did put in Henry's as well. He didn't get a point either. He gets Hamilton, and Guan Yu Zhou for driver of the day. So yeah, you're leading 1-0 so far to you in the predictions.
That's great. Now, F1 is back again with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix back again. First time was last year. Lewis Hamilton was the victor in that race, and that race, wow, that was a lot.
Just chaos,
You know,
wasn't it?
red flag after red flag. I think there were three red flags, probably
Yeah,
three red flags.
three red flags, and one of them was almost straight after the restart from a previous red flag.
Yeah,
It was probably the most chaotic race of last year. I think I don't remember. I know last year was quite a chaotic season as a whole, but it was just madness from start to finish, really. And I mean, hopefully we won't. In a way, I hope we see something like it with it being chaos and it being action packed, but just less controversial. I mean, there's no Michael Massey offering teams, oh, do you want to start here? Do you want to start there for the restart this time out? But yeah, I mean, hopefully we see. So good. Well, I say hopefully. I don't want Saudi Arabia on the on the calendar. But yeah, it is what it is, I suppose now. But yeah, just hopefully another sort of show similar to Bahrain. Really, another close battle between a few drivers. And so hopefully McLaren get some points at this stage, I suppose. And yeah, hopefully Red Bull don't their engines don't fail in the last few laps. So yeah.
Into this race weekend in Saudi Arabia, after seeing what happened in Bahrain, I feel that Red Bull are we're gonna see Red Bull really kick off during this Saudi Arabia race, given what has happened in Bahrain. They need to, they need to sort out the powertrain and everything, which brings me to my predictions. So for pole sitter, they didn't really they really lacked pace in the Bahrain race. I mean, starting on the grid, they didn't start on the grid in the top three. But I believe Lewis Hamilton can really set the tone in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia,
Saudi.
sorry. Really set the tone in Saudi Arabia. He got pole last year and he also won the race. So I think he's gonna, get pole again. However, race winner, Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. So I believe Ferrari are going to continue their winning starts for a second race in a row. Carlos Sainz hasn't won a race since he's entered Formula One. He had a few podiums last year, which was very good, and this year could be his year. I'm feeling it in Saudi Arabia. And driver of the day. Now, I'm gonna let you have some fun. Guess my driver of the day
Oh, guess it.
for Saudi Arabia. Three
Actually,
guesses. I'll keep it short. Three
I reckon
guesses.
it's got to be someone in the midfield. Fernando Alonso.
No,
No,
but close.
but close. Esteban Ocon again. I know he went
Esteban
Ocon
Ocon
last
again.
week. I had two
Yeah,
twice in a row.
yeah. Now, if you remember last year with the whole controversy in Saudi Arabia, I believe Esteban Ocon was starting on the front row in pole position,
Yeah,
and
he
I
started on
think you
pole on the
mentioned
restart.
something. Yeah, and I think you mentioned, oh, Esteban Ocon must be the luckiest person in that race, in that situation, and it would be great for him to win or something. I think you said something like that. So I think Esteban Ocon, and remember, Bottas beat him to third place,
True. Another sort
so he's gonna be out for revenge.
of.
That's why
And
I've put the Frenchman as my driver of the day.
yeah, and Bottas is in a slower car this year as well, so he could get him back. Sort of last lap sort of shootout to the start finish
Yeah,
to the finish line again.
yeah. So just to confirm it, Paul Hamilton, race winner, Carlos Sainz, and driver of the day, Esteban Ocon for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, good shouts. I haven't given this much thought, so this is sort of off the cuff, really. I think I'm going to go pole position. I'm going to go Max Verstappen. Um,
Ooh.
I know he was a little bit off it in Bahrain. Obviously, Leclerc got pole, but I think if Verstappen can string together the lap that he was on last time out in Bahrain, up until when he crashed at the last corner, second to last corner, that would have been one of the all-time great pole laps. I think just the pace that he had compared to everyone else. So I think, although he didn't get pole in Bahrain, I think he can come back from that and string together a lap like he was on last year in Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to go pole position for Max Verstappen. Race winner. Oh, is it going to be a Red Bull? Are the engines going to hold up? Is it going to be a Ferrari? I kind of want to go Sainz as well, but I'll go Leclerc. I'll go the other Ferrari. I think Leclerc is Ferrari's number one driver, so that's not me saying that there'll be team orders this early on in the season. I mean, it's race 2 for crying out, so. But I think Leclerc is just a little bit better than Carlos Sainz. So I think if it does come between the two of them, I think it will be Leclerc to go on that top step. Having said that, I would love Carlos Sainz to win. So I've just love him to win a race this year. I think he deserves it so bad because he's had a couple of podiums. I think he had a couple of podiums with McLaren. One of which was in Brazil, where after sort of penalties to Hamilton, he didn't actually get on the podium until sort of after the race, and everyone had already gone home. But yeah, he's got podiums last year with Ferrari, and this year surely is finally the year that he wins a race in a Ferrari as well. One of arguably the biggest team in Formula One, the most historic team in Formula One that's currently on the grid now. Yeah. So as much as I've said Leclerc to win the race, I would love for Sainz to win it as well. Moving on to driver of the day. Could be anyone really.
Yeah, it's a lottery.
It's a lottery. I mean, we got to hope that we get more than one right this year. Sorry, because we got one.
Yeah.
Last year, I can't even remember who it was. I can't remember which race. Let's go George Russell in the Mercedes.
Why not?
First driver of the day for George. Would it be a first driver of the day? Well, first driver of the day in a Mercedes for George Russell at the very least, anyway. So yeah, to confirm, I've got Max Verstappen pole position, Charles Leclerc to win the race, and George Russell for driver of the day. And yeah, we'll see on Sunday if we get any of them right.
The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix gets underway on the 25th of March with the race on the Sunday. I'm excited for it. I'm excited. F1 is back. I forgot now. One more question before we finish off. Rate the race.
Oh, yeah.
Rate Bahrain. I can't believe it. I almost forgot. Silly.
We got the race right.
Silly. Right. After listening to Bahrain on the radio, watching the race highlights, how it unfolded, all the drama, how do you rate the race out of 10 for Bahrain? 10 being, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. 0 being poor.
I think it was a pretty good start to the season. I suppose sort of similar to last year where you had that battle with Verstappen and Hamilton towards the end, but again we sort of had that this year. If only the Red Bull engines could hold up, but I think it's a pretty good start. I'm going to give it. I don't think I can quite give it an 8. I'm going to give it 7.5. A bit of a cop out to give it a half point. But I'm going to go 7.5. A pretty solid start to the season. What do you rate it?
I'm going to give it. Well, I thought it had everything. It had drama. It had, big game-changing moments, like especially towards the end, particularly towards the end of the race, with both Red Bulls, retiring due to powertrain failures. The battles in the opening laps between Leclerc and Verstappen, which is what we want to see. Everyone was cheering about that. That's going to be a special moment come throughout the season. So I think because of that, and also Kevin Magnussen finishing in the top 5.
Yeah, true.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I was very excited by it. It set the tone for the season. You always want to have a great opening season. it it gives other races to try and match that sort of atmosphere. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was very good, and hopefully maybe Saudi Arabia can match that. Like I've said,
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think I can add much more to that, really. Yeah, hopefully Saudi Arabia, as you say, matches what we saw in Bahrain in terms of entertainment and excitement. And yeah, the F1 season 2022 is go. Lights out and away we go for F1 this year.
indeed. Well, we've come to the end of another episode, and do make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram. You know, on our F1Stop Show pod on Instagram and F1Stop Show on Twitter. Also, if you need to email us, do that. And also look out for our social media. And also, yeah. Well, I've been your host, Samuel Oni, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye bye.
And we hope you enjoy the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this weekend.